Hi, I'm Bruce Erickson from Certified Scientific Instruments, and today I'm here to talk to you about the ABI 9700 PCR instrument. As you're aware, or may not be aware, Thermo and ABI have decided not to support these instruments anymore, and they brought out new instruments to supplant the ABI 9700. However, the ABI 9700 has been used for roughly 20 years and is probably the most robust PCR instrument ever been made. Well, ABI is no longer servicing these instruments, and they were doing so out of Singapore. We have been servicing these instruments for the last 15 years, and we can service these instruments all the way from the Peltiers on up. But let me tell you why it's important to get your instrument serviced, and also what we can do to make your instrument even more robust than before. The ABI 9700 comes in various forms. These single blocks, which are either 60 or more commonly 96 wells, come in aluminum, gold, or silver, and then they also come in dual plate 96 well aluminums and dual plate 384 well aluminum models. One of the problems that's historically been the case with the single blocks is that the handles often break and they'll come loose on one side, and what we've done is we've gone and removed the older plastic paws that are inside along with the pins, and when they break off, this pin breaks off here like this, we go and grind that off like this so it's flat. And then we go and insert new pins, glue them on the outside, put new screws, stainless steel on the inside, although these are aluminum pins. And then we go ahead and we've had these new paws made for us so that the hinge operates based on not plastic on plastic but aluminum on aluminum, and it avoids the galling that weakens these and then eventually breaks them off. So we can sell these kits to you separately, or we can go ahead and install them here when we're doing work on your instrument. Concerning your instrument, the thing that probably goes bad on these most often are the Peltiers. And the Peltiers are these little heat and cooling blocks that are set underneath the block, and they actually ramp up and ramp down so that they heat and cool that block. This is a new Peltier, and as you can see, it's what's called diced. And these particular Peltiers, when they go bad, they'll have a little dark spot on one of these diced areas, and as a result you won't get a consistent TNU test on it. Now oftentimes they go and run the self-test on a 9700. That really doesn't tell you anything, because what you need to do is a TNU test, and you need to test each of the 4 quadrants on a given block to make sure that there's no burn spots on the Peltiers, keeping it from heating and cooling consistently. When they don't heat and cool consistently, essentially you destroy what's in the well there, and it's a waste of product, it's a waste of your samples, it's a waste of your time. So by having a quality TNU test where the probe is put in 8 different positions on each block, then you know you've got a well that's going to give you a good result in terms of your PCR work. In addition, there's little sensors like this in the block that have to be set inside the back of the block, this little area here, and if they're not, you again won't get a good result. And that sensor is something that's critical to how well your machine is going to operate. That said, these are robust. For example, a Peltier is going to last a long time, probably 6, 7, 8 years. However, what can go bad is the heat sink material in terms of the goop that you put on these. That hardens over time, and sometimes you won't be getting a good result on your TNU test, not because the Peltiers are bad, but essentially it needs new thermal compound. The other problem that can occur with a poor result of your TNU test is that the block can often be dirty. Here's a block, a silver block that's just tarnished on the inside and it needs to be cleaned out. Here's a gold block that's cleaned out. But this gold block, even though it's clean, still doesn't operate well because on gold blocks, oftentimes the actual inside of the wells, if you can see that, is oftentimes corroded, and as a result, you've got to replace the block. We've tried cleaning this in many, many different ways. Can't seem to figure out a way to do it. The block just has to be replaced. In addition to when the instrument is ramping up and down, the fan's going to help cool and also distribute heat. We put in a little bigger fan than what the OEM puts in. It moves more air, and as a result you get a better ramp speed. That said, one of the reasons why a more powerful fan wasn't put in originally is because they wanted to keep the sound down on this, but the sound on the 9700 isn't aggravating as it is, so these fans just work great. The other major thing we did with these is that this is an original power supply here. This is one of our new power supplies, and you'll notice it has two small fans on one end. It keeps the power supply far cooler, and in addition, this is about a 17 amp power supply versus I think the other one is around 7.5, so you've got more power. The power comes out at 48 volts on these, but if you're trying to run, for example, a dual block off of one of the old power supplies, and they never put in a larger power supply to handle the two dual blocks. The problem is that it was maxing out what that power supply could do, so as a result they failed more often, and also your ramp speeds weren't consistent and they weren't as rapid as when you have the better power supply. Now another thing we can do as well is if things are a bit on the edge in terms of your power because maybe just the anomalies of building these, we can change that power from 48 to say 50 or 52 volts, and it will ramp up and down a lot cleaner. These are all things that we've done to make the 9700 more robust, and so that you don't have to go ahead and get rid of a perfectly good machine and get something that is newer but more poorly engineered. I would say that the Verity, for example, has 6 Peltiers under a 96 well plate. Those things are horrible. You can't replace them. You can't do anything with them. What happens is you wind up junking the machine, or you have a huge bill for fixing the machine, when in fact a 9700 PCR instrument is going to work great for you for years. So we normally keep around 50 plus of these in stock. We've got every make and model. When you get something from us, it's not only got a nice case and everything looks right cosmetically, but it's actually rebuilt from the ground up. This came to me at one point when I was looking at an old sports car I had, and I had taken it into a Triumph dealer, and they were rebuilding some cars there and doing frame-up restorations. And I was thinking about how when you do a frame-up restoration on a 9700, you've got a better than new product. The Peltiers are more robust. We've got better ones than were coming out originally out of Vietnam. These are coming out of China now. We get them direct from the manufacturer. The thermal compound's better. The paws and pins are better on the hinges. You're getting a better than OEM product now, and it's going to last you for years. When somebody says, well, we've run a self-test on this and we polished the outside, therefore it's refurbed, that means nothing. What you need is something that's been rebuilt, and you also have to have a company that can back up the warranty that they give you. So when we do the TNU tests on these things, they've got to fall within the parameters of a degree in terms of how they ramp up and ramp down, and that way you're going to get good results from your PCR tests. I think that's all I have to say now. Great talking with you. please give us a call, and you can talk to Jerry, our chief engineer on 9700. You can talk to him direct. We don't use third-party people here. It's all done in-house. And like I said, we've got around 50 plus in stock at any one time. Thank you so much.